If you love liberty, declare your independence by signing the Shire Society Declaration at shiresociety.com.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Thursday night to come and spend time with the Clean Cannabis Coalition. We're really excited that you guys decided to take the initiative and come learn about your rights as a student on and off campus. So without further ado, let's welcome James Carroll from Flex Your Rights.
It's always fun to come back. A brief background. So I graduated from Keene State College in 2013 with a degree in political science and sociology. And I always like to come back and very nostalgic, so it's always fun to be here, especially since during that time I was VP of Students for Sensible Drug Policy. And it's always nice. So we made some big moves, and I always said if I had the chance or opportunity in my line of work to come back and speak to people about their civil liberties and interactions with police and such, I would do so. So here we are. So let me just give a brief overview. When we were Students for Sensible Drug Policy, I guess one of our most crowning moments was when we, I'm going to go up on the stage. I never have been, so. One of our most crowning moments was when we passed the Good Samaritan policy, which is still in the books, as you may or may not know. It's in the rule book. So what this states is, say you guys are having fun, you get into it, doing your thing, drinking or doing drugs, and somebody goes down or there's an overdose of sorts. This becomes a very serious situation. In that instance, nobody should ever worry about authority ruining your night or somebody possibly dying because you're afraid of calling the police or emergency response services. So the Good Samaritan policy grants immunity for the individual who calls. I can't make excuses for you guys. I'll give a disclaimer that I'm not here to try to find legal loopholes for everybody here or to endorse, foolish behavior. What I am here is to tell you guys about your civil liberties, as I think they're the cornerstone of anyone's rights here in the United States. Without civil liberties, we're really nothing here. So everyone should be aware of these. With that said, we'll go into the fun stuff. But to know about the Good Samaritan policy, I'd say just check it out on the website really quick. And if anything happens where you feel like you're in danger or someone of your friends is dangerous, do not hesitate to call 911 or anything like that. So you can get help. As I say, no one should be dying over such foolish worries about authority. So with that, we'll move on. On campus rights, I'm not sure if many of you live in dorms. How many live in dorms currently here? Okay, so in dorms you sign your contract. So a lot of your rights kind of, they don't go to one. You'll always have your constitutional rights regardless of where you are. Your Fourth Amendment right doesn't go anywhere. Your Fifth Amendment right never leaves you. These amendments are with you regardless. But in the dorms, you have a little more you have to follow because that's what the contract you sign. So some of those things I think is the biggest when people get confused is searches of your rooms, right? So you get the rules about when can an RA come in, when can RD come in, when can campus safety come in, when can a police officer come in. Now, if you're in there being loud and being, partying and doing your thing and stuff and you're acting out, obviously you're going to get the knock on the door from whoever it may be. This is where these rights kind of come in. I would say first and foremost, always remember that you don't have to answer the door, okay? That's a misconception. If the police are knocking on your door, you don't have to answer that door. You have to decide if you want to interact with them or not, okay? Now, if there is something going on, again, this is not condoning poor behavior, poor decisions, that would be a different situation. However, just because someone's banging on the door and screaming through it and acting threatening does not mean you have to answer that door. Let them make their threats and it will handle itself in a legal situation, okay? But initially make that decision. Now, most people, again, this all depends how far you're willing to take it. I go to the extremes when dealing with police. Not everyone will, and I don't think you should go to your comfort zone to prove something. But let's say you're in that instance, you don't open the door, they continue to say, open this door now, or things like that. Make that decision. If you open that door, you're going to start talking to them, right? And remember, police are trained, they can lie. And those police are going to stand there and tell you this and that and try to get you in trouble. This isn't to imply all police officers are bad or anything of the sort. But remember, they're not your friends. They're not there to always help you, okay? And anything you say can and will be used against you. So when talking to the police, keep it very short. I would recommend just don't talk to police in general unless you absolutely need them, okay? If you're in trouble or you're in a situation where you need the police, fire away. But when the police are questioning you and you know you've done nothing wrong or you don't think you've done anything wrong, don't speak to the police. A blank police report is your best defense in court. And I always tell people, initially these things might seem daunting, or it's like, what are you talking about? What is this idea? This idea is very simple. It's that you have the right to remain silent. And I think it's the best defense in any of these situations is your Fifth Amendment. You do not have to answer questions. You don't have to make small talk with them. Now this is often, I went to college here, I know how it works. This was also a way to try to get to know you a bit, so we make small talk and banter, right? They're your friend, But just remember, they would just as quickly turn around and arrest you for some little trumped up charge. So just remember, we're talking to the police. Let me see what else we got working here. So in the RAs and the RDs, as you know, when you sign that contract, now they may knock on the door, but remember, they can't just waltz in through the door. That's always a big thing. They can't just come in. So I would say when you answer the door, come outside, close the door behind you, and stand and talk to them there if you've made the decision to talk to them. Do not let them see anything in plain sight and close the door behind you and stand there and talk to them face to face. They do not need to know about the other people's names or anything in the room behind you, okay? Now I would be careful with that because in the dorm it's a bit different, but at your own home, they don't need, just like when you get pulled over, they don't need to know about the rest of the passengers in the car. It's between you, your infraction, you the driver, and the police officer. All the other people do not need to be ID'd in the car. That's a misconception. They will use the intimidation technique to try to get you to give the names. What they're doing there is they're looking for warrants and they're looking for other reasons to bust those other people. Those other people do not have to speak. So back to the on the dorms thing. If they do say, we're going to come in, or we're going to search the room, you'll find that campus safety will partner up with KPD and come to the room to turn up the intimidation factor. So they'll both come to the door. I don't need this. You guys don't hand me, right? It's just a distractor. Okay. So they'll, thanks. So they'll often come to the door and they'll have the campus safety and the KPD. That's supposed to intimidate you a little bit more. It's supposed to get you into maybe, oh, okay, now I have to answer because there's a police officer there. Remember, you still don't have to come, let them search everything. Ask for the warrant, tell them you do not consent to the search in general. And then they start making excuses, chances are if you're inebriated, you're going to be talking foolishly. This is where the whole not talking in general comes in. The more you talk when you're in any sort of condition, they're going to use those words against you. So be very careful with your words when you're talking to them and decide how far you're willing to take this. But I think the most important disclaimer before all this is decide why they're there in the first place and then make the appropriate decision. Again, if you're being foolish, if you're being loud, if you're too drunk, if you're doing drugs thing, there's no excuse per se for that. There's no legal defense for that type of thing. But just remember, when they come, if you think they shouldn't be here, we're not doing anything wrong, that's when you start thinking about these rights. And I think you'll see that more and more. That's not to say it's going to happen every night and you should always view them as evil people. Not whatsoever. But when the time comes, just think twice about how far you're willing to take that initial interaction. Let's see. So when an RA and an RD comes in the room, so RA or RD, yep, comes in the room and then, for whatever reason, I haven't been here in a while, so I don't know the reasoning. But they come in, they can't go rifling through your drawers or search things, your refrigerator, open drawers. They cannot do that, okay? They don't have that authority, much like if the police come into your room. And they come into the room, they can see things hidden in plain sight, right? So if you're foolish enough to leave your bomb on the table or beer if you're underage on the table, that now gives them the reason, the authority to start searching other things because they've seen that. If you have nothing there, and they don't see anything, they can't just go rifling through drawer stuff without a search warrant. So they will do the usual game with all get a search warrant, they'll do the intimidation. That's fine, wait for the search warrant, and then make sure you read that search warrant. Let's see every little detail, and make sure it details all the things. Again, if you see in these situations you feel like you're being wrong, in that moment, stay calm. That's the biggest thing. There's always a look for a reaction to then hit you with some trumped up charge, right? Oh, you're getting aggressive, you're resisting. Stay calm. And following the interaction, that's when you file a complaint. I'll speak about the complaint process after this. File the complaint and then take it through the legal system. I know in those moments it's frustrating. I've been there, done that, to sit there and go through with this. But just wait and let it play out in its own course. But stay calm. That's the most crucial thing. And there's no need to scream or get overly aggressive or anything of the sort. Just let it happen. I know you're right. Yep.
Yeah. So if the police officer asks, can I come in? Can I just say no and shut the door?
It depends on the reasoning for it. What you were doing prior to that interaction. So I would say if you hear a knock and you've done nothing wrong, you're sitting in your room, you don't have to answer that door. There's nothing legally saying you have to open the door for a police officer. That's crucial to remember. Decide on the interaction you're going to have with a police officer. Decide if you're in a state you want to talk to them. I always say the best defense is not talking to them at all. Whenever you're in court, if they get, you're on the stand or whatever, and the judge says, well, what did he say? So if you were drunk and rambling, we can use that against you, right? But if you said nothing to that police officer whatsoever, that's pretty hard to prove you did anything wrong, whether you did or not, you know what I'm saying? So it's always crucial to think about what you're saying.
So let's say I was drunk, and then I wanted to, if I didn't open the door to the police officer, that would be okay?
I mean, there's circumstances. We'll talk about it at the end. I'll get to us at the end, but thanks for the question. Let me just keep going with this thing. All right. So then, we were talking about the on-campus rights a little bit more. Let's see. And the last part, and this will relate to the whole overarching thing, is just to film everything. This is, you look around the news these days, what's going on with political things, you see all the violence, and not just police violence, everything is, we're filming everything, which is great. We're bringing awareness to things that weren't there. There are numerous apps where you can film the police, and you are legally entitled to film the police. Don't fall for that game as you can't film us. They're public officials, it's a public spot. You can film them as much as you want. Don't ever back down for that. And there are apps that they confiscate your phone where you can send the footage you just took to cloud type service. So if your phone goes, you can still access that service elsewhere and stuff, and you are allowed to film. I think filming is the best resource, because then when you get to the court and you want to prove something, you want to file a civil suit, or you want to take this up a step, you have that evidence there, and you can pull it out and say, look, we saw exactly what happened. Now, often you'll get, don't film us, you're interfering and stuff, but you're allowed to film your own interactions. You're not interfering, you can't interfere in your own interaction per se. But we've heard that, I've gone through it 100 times, with don't film us, don't lie, that's not accurate. So always remember to film, and remember, with these apps, you're filming, they take the phone away, that footage didn't go anywhere, because sometimes it has a way of disappearing with the police, right? Oh, we took the phone for a few days, and with college kids, I know, I wasn't this passionate about this when I was in college. It happened after when I started working in this type of field. I wasn't this passionate about all this, but I know it's easy to be like, oh, forget it after a few days. I'm just tired, I just want to hang out with my friends and do other things. That's where it comes conveniently to be like, oh, you know what, I don't care about the ticket, I'll just pay it. And that's what they're always hoping for, is that you just pay the ticket, shush, and keep moving on. So let's continue with off-campus rights, because this is where a majority of your interactions are going to happen with the police off-campus. So if you live in a house, your rights, like I said, they never go anywhere, but you have a little bit more leeway. You don't have to sign a contract with a RA or an RD, and this is where it comes in more in hand. So we all know how this works. You go, you're having a house party. They got a call. They always get a call, right? And you can trace back who actually made the call, because oftentimes they don't get a call. This is just an excuse to come and start whatever, and it's right or wrong. If there's underage drinking, we can't make excuses for that, right? So they come to the house. Usually they just tell them to clear the house, and usually it's laid back. There are a few times, though, when people are going to start, you see the Pumpkin Fest, I don't think it's happening anymore, but at Pumpkin Fest, kids foolishly walking around with a red solo cup, right? There's beer in it. Again, just be smart about things, and you won't get nailed. So say they come up to you, they see the red solo cup. There's really no excuse there. Say you're walking, you look a bit funny, you're a bit impaired, and you have a backpack. They get a special on. So what happens if you have beer in your backpack and they say, can we search it? First of all, no reason to search your bag. They don't need to search your bag just because it looks suspicious or anything like that. Now remember, suspicion and all this is objective. Police, much like us, are people, so therefore we're imperfect. So they tend to make mistakes, and they get a little, they can get away with it more. So when we go to court, it's our word versus their word. Granted, there's a conflict of interest because the police are working with the judge. Okay, they're on the same payroll. They're going to take the police officer's word over yours. So I just say don't even get to that point. So if they say, can we search your bag, you say on what grounds. But first and foremost, I would come back to the beginning. Why? You don't have to speak with them when they make small talk. Again, so if you're walking down with a bunch of buddies, okay, they're picking their targets. They know kids are maybe a little worried. This is a great way to get some tickets going and stuff like that. And they say, oh, where are you going? They don't even know where you're going. That's none of your business. They don't, who cares? So you don't answer that question. And you keep walking. Now again, if they have reasonable suspicion to search the bag, it's a different story. Now if you're falling over and you look quite ill, or something's off, you're tripping balls, that's when okay, things get a little different and they have reasonable suspicion. So again, it's about being smart with these approaches, and when a situation arises where they may have a reason to search, it's all about those interactions. I always say, if you know you're nail alert, you've done something wrong. I'm not trying to absolve anyone if nobody does anything wrong, not whatsoever. So like the speeding ticket, if you were speeding, get the speeding ticket. I would still say fight it in any way, make them work for that money. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we can't make excuses for anything. So if the interaction does come where you know you're wrong, and you know, okay, I'm going to get in trouble, that's the time to shut your mouth. Okay, don't volunteer anything for them. Don't tell them anything. Let them just say, I'm not going to answer any of your questions. It's that simple. Now, you might get hit with those threats like, oh, you're not going to answer any questions, it's only going to get more difficult for you and stuff like that. That's fine. Let them threaten you. Just stay quiet. You can never get in trouble for being quiet, and you can never, and it looks so much better when you have your day in court if it goes to that level. So with the house parties and such, so if you have a house party, the person's name who is on what's called the lease is responsible for those people in that house. So that's something to remember. So if you have a bunch of underage kids in the house drinking, if they do come and there's a bunch of alcohol, they can potentially bust you on that. I would always say, in those situations, again, where you know things like that are happening, let it happen and then take it to court the next day. But make sure all your ducks are in a row with that. I was also thinking, just for you, good for you guys to know. So you have a landlord, obviously. So landlord owns the house, right, or works for the owner of the house. So landlords are allowed to enter the home, but they have to give a reasonable time frame. So we had this when we lived here. So we were college kids, so we were enjoying ourselves. But our landlord, we kept